Thanks for joining me, Mike MDs. Today we have a 2014 BMW 335i GT. Customers complaining of oil smell, burning smell, and at another shop it was recommended to replace the valve cover, which is the top portion of the engine valve train. And on these cars, it's made out of plastic. So usually you can replace the gasket on it, but it's better to replace the whole assembly, especially if it has higher mileage. This one has just under 100,000 and you want to replace it. So we're going to do that on this customer's today. Before we get started, I just want to show you what this car has. It has a Brody knob. When's the last time you've seen one of these things here? Look at that, you can turn like that. Reminds me of my high school bus driver. Pretty cool. All right, this is the N55 engine. It's a good engine here. Inline 6, single turbo, twin scroll. This engine makes pretty good power. It's very nice. Here we go. All right, so the valve cover is this portion here. It's the cap for the rest of the valve train. It covers the valve train from oil splashing. It also serves as a dual purpose as a crankcase ventilation system, helps the crankcase system breathe, collects the oil from the vapors, directs them back down into the oil sump. Okay, let's verify here what's going on. Usually these leak in the back over here, and I'll drip onto the exhaust and the catalytic converter, which is of course the hottest part of the engine here. I do see, there it is right there. You see that residue right there? This is the bottom portion of the valve cover. There it is. There it is right there. And underneath this plate here is the exhaust manifold, so it's leaching its way down into the exhaust manifold and is burning it. So it does make sense to replace the valve cover. This customer also has another leak coming from the oil filter housing, which is this unit here. Holds the oil filter cartridge. It's leaking underneath there. It doesn't look too bad, but it is dripping down onto the tensioner, which can work its way onto the dry belt. Once it touches the dry belt, that is it. The dry belt will absorb all the oil and it'll throw the belt and it'll cause some damage here. Also on these cars, coolant system checks are a big deal. This one here, you can see how brown this plastic fitting is for the upper radiator hose. This is eventually gonna pop on him. It usually breaks right at the crimps, right where it goes on here, from the rubber to the plastic. So I'll be recommending that, see what he wants to do. Okay, so I told the customer about the other items. He wants to hold off, even though they are really more important, especially the coolant stuff here, because this could pop because it's so brittle. And once it does, it will leave you stranded. The customer is aware of that. He says that the smell from the burning, the oil going on the exhaust is so overwhelming. He wants to take care of that first, and he's gonna let us know on the rest. But for now, we have authorization to replace the valve cover assembly. So we're gonna get going with that right now. First things first is to make a little extra room. So we're gonna get rid of this cowling up here, this sound sponge deadening material, start pulling the harness away from everything here, and it'll give us access. All right, cowling's off here. We're gonna take the bolts off that are holding the strut brace on here on all these corners. Don't you hate it when you drop a tool somewhere? Oh yeah, I got lucky. Ignition coils are coming out. These look original. For the fuel rail. For the valve cover bolts. All the bolts are off for the valve cover. Time to remove it. There you go. Okay, everything looks pretty good in here. Anytime I have the valve cover off, I always take the opportunity to check out the timing chain, the Vanos gears, which are the variable valve time actuators here, and also the Valvetronic system, which is variable valve lift. It's a pretty cool little system here. It has a little servo motor here with a worm gear, and you can see a little half moon gear shape right here. It's like a crescent, and it moves this intermediate shaft down in here, and which in turn changes the angle on these intermediate levers which ride on the camshaft lobes. So when the engine's at idle, the valves are barely opening, and then as you increase with engine RPM and load, and it changes the angle on the intermediate levers, which increases the valve opening. Definitely need some nutrients so I could think. Oh yeah. All right, here's a new valve cover. Especially with anything plastic on these cars, we always use a factory BMW stuff, because all the aftermarket plastic stuff it's no good. Most of it is made in China. Now, if you're gonna sell your car like next week or within a month, then yeah, go for it. It's just too much labor involved to not, you know, replace it with a good part. You know, if you take your car to a shop, always request factory parts. We actually don't charge any more for factory parts. They all have a list price. We have definitely less of a profit margin on factory parts, but we like to use it because we have to warranty our repairs, and we don't have to do it again. And plus, it's our name on the business. We want to do it right, you know. All right, now we're just doing the final details. Okay, getting ready to start it now. I have put a new breather pipe on here. This corrugated piece always breaks on here. Ignition coils are in, wiring harnesses, everything is plugged in here. O2 sensors, fuel rail pressure sensor. It's ready to go. Everything minus the cover is back together. I'm gonna start it right now and just double check, make sure there's no leaks, make sure everything runs right, make sure everything is connected properly. All right. Everything looks great, nothing's leaking, runs great. I'm gonna leave the cover off while I test drive it, recheck it after, and then we'll ship it. Thank you everybody for joining me on this little repair here of the valve cover. I'd appreciate it if you'd like and subscribe and even share. I'll see you on the next one. Happy motoring to you.